All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle Nixon, and I serve as the Director of Recruitment and Orientation here at the University of Memphis. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our Tiger to Tiger alumni series. We have some wonderful alums here with us to talk a little bit about their experience at the University of Memphis and their journey into the health and medicine fields. So I hope that you all will gather some information from this and learn a little bit more about their experiences and get some helpful insights on what your college experience may look like. I want to remind you that this is a webinar feature event on Zoom. And so while you're able to see us, unfortunately, we're not able to see you, but you are able to ask questions of us. And so at the bottom of your screen, you'll likely see a Q&A feature where you can type in any question that you have for the panelists, and they'll be able to answer those for you. And then there's also a chat feature if you want to talk individually with the panelists as well. We're gonna do a quick introduction of the panelists, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. And then our contact information is also listed on the screen there. If you have any questions of us at any point tonight or after the event, we'll be glad to answer those for you. I'm going to turn it over now to Paige Rooney, who's our Assistant Director for Recruitment, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what to expect tonight.
Thank you, Kyle. Like he said, thank you for joining us. We are excited to have some really great alums in a variety of areas of healthcare and medicine to talk to you guys tonight and just tell you a little bit more about whatever it is that you want to know. So don't hesitate to use that Q&A feature. And we want to get started with the interaction by giving you a chance to let us know who you are, where you're joining us from, and what do you want to major in, or what do you want to do after college? So if you're not quite sure what the major is, where do you want to be after you graduate? And if you're not sure about any of that, that's okay too. You can say that you're not sure. I'm sure some of our panelists changed their major a time or two. And if they did not, I did probably enough for all of us. So please go ahead and just introduce yourself in the chat. That way we can know who we're talking to, and you can hopefully meet some new people since we're not able to be having this event in person due to both the weather conditions outside. I hope everybody is staying safe and warm, and the pandemic. And so we're really glad to be able to talk to you guys and have some people share their experiences right here on your phone or your computer. So please drop your name, your major, or sorry, your name, your hometown, and what you might be interested in studying in the chat. And with that, we would love to introduce our panelists. And so, like I said, they are representing a variety of different fields. They have been to University of Memphis at a variety of different times, and they are all great representatives for the UofM. So we'll just go in this order and let them tell you a little bit about who they are and what they're doing now.
Hey everyone, my name's Clayton Smith. I am a first-year dental student here at University of Tennessee Health Science Center, also located in Memphis, just a couple miles down the road from the University of Memphis. I graduated in 2018. I had my major in chemistry. I had a concentration in biochemistry, and I had a minor in biology. As you can see, I graduated in 2018, and I'm now a first-year dental student. I took a couple gap years in between, working as a dental assistant 1 year and a lab tech as another year. At the end of this, I'm also going to put my student email address in the chat in case you want to contact me about dental school related stuff or UT Health Science Center related stuff.
All right, I'm really happy to be here. So I went to the University of Memphis from 97 to 2001. After that, I majored in biology when I was there, knew I wanted to go to medical school. I took a little bit of a circuitous route. I started out applying and did not get immediately in. And so I worked at a nonprofit clinic here in town for several years, and then ultimately started medical school in 2004. When I finished in 2008, 2008, I started residency, and residency varies too. And so I studied or did my residency in internal medicine and pediatrics. And so that is a 4-year residency program. And so I finished in 2012. And right after that, started working as a faculty member at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. So I'm there. I wanted to continue to work with other students and residents who were pursuing medical careers. And so I work primarily at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. I run the division of our hospitalists there. And so our jobs are to take care of children who are hospitalized for illnesses. I work directly with our residents and our medical students. And so I'm able to teach in addition to taking care of patients, and I do some research in my spare time, but it all started back at the University of Memphis from 97 to 2001.
Hey everybody, I'm Jared Moses. Go Tigers. I want to first start off by saying that it's great to be back with such a great group of people, and also back to talk about the place I love and where I first started my academic career post high school. So again, Jared Moses, I'm administrative director at Baptist Memorial Hospital, Memphis. Fancy title to basically say a lot of ancillary departments and support departments report up through me through healthcare. And I see the rest of the panelists, a lot of them are very clinical, but I'm representing the non-clinical part of healthcare, another important piece of healthcare, and was really highlighted during the pandemic. So happy to talk about it, and hopefully some of you all who are viewing this might be interested in it after I finish. Got here, started off as a business major and undergraduate at the University of Memphis, and then went to Georgetown for my master's in healthcare administration, and now I'm at Baptist. So look forward to the conversation.
Mario, we've got you up next.
Hey friends, this is Mario Lopez Rodriguez. I'm sorry I can't see you through the Zoom. I don't have enough signal, so I'm calling in through the phone. But again, my name is Mario. I attended the University of Memphis. Interestingly enough, I went to the Lambeth campus in Jackson, Tennessee. So I went there from 2012 to 2016, and I did the Lowenberg College of Nursing. So I graduated in 2016. I've done a couple different things since then. Primarily, I've been working with pediatrics. From 16 to 19, I worked at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, and I was a pulmonary med-surg nurse. After that, I had a really big interest in community health. I always did a lot of community volunteering while I was in college there at Lambeth in Jackson, Tennessee, but then outside as well when I lived here in Memphis. And so through one of the internships that I did with the Career Internship Expo there at Memphis, I was able to connect to one of the recruiters for the Peace Corps. And I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Peace Corps, but I ended up doing Peace Corps in 2019. So from 2019 to 2020, I worked abroad in East Africa in the country of Tanzania as a community health extension volunteer. And then unfortunately for various different things with the pandemic and other things, I didn't fully commit or fully finish the 27 months that you'd normally do. But then I came back in 2020, and now I work at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and there I'm working in the bone marrow transplant unit. And so that's kind of my passion right now, working as a registered nurse, but I'm also very interested in community health as I enlisted with Peace Corps and working there. And so I got recently accepted to Emory's Rowan School of Public Health. So I'm looking to guide my healthcare career towards that way. Very interested in global health. So any questions about any of those institutions that I've worked at or grad school applications or anything like that, feel free to drop on any questions. I'm always happy to talk to people and see where their journey is and how our journeys connect.
Hi, everyone. I am Portia Maharo. I'm a family nurse practitioner for primary care specialist of Regional One Health. I graduated from the University of Memphis in 2011. When I got there, I, even from a young child, wanted to be a physician. Life happens, things change. and you realize that that may not be what you want to be. So I ended up taking a route of going into nursing school, which is by no means a step down. That was very challenging. I decided to get a terminal degree, which means I got my doctorate, my DNP, Doctorate of Nursing Practice. So now I am a family nurse practitioner. I went to University of Tennessee Health Science Center, and I now work at Regional 1. It's taken me some time to get to where I am now. I've had several different jobs as a nurse. I was a bone marrow transplant nurse at St. Jude as well, Mario. So shout out to St. Jude. And I've worked in aesthetics, which is like Botox, laser hair removal. That was fun. I've worked in at CVS in a minute clinic. That was very different and challenging in a different way. But now I found myself where I feel like I can really do some work in our community at Regional 1 as a primary care provider. So I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Allen. I am not an alumni yet. I am currently a senior nursing major here at the University of Memphis. I'm from Carterville, Tennessee, and I have had the opportunity during my time to get involved on campus. And currently, I'm in the job search. So starting to apply for jobs as an RN and applying for the NCLEX, even all of that fun stuff. So I also right now, I'm doing clinicals through school, but I also am an intern at Baptist Memorial Hospital on a cardiac observation floor. And then I'm also an extern at Regional 1 Health at the general ICU. So got a few different experiences. If you have any questions about what student life is like or about the nursing program and what it is right now, I am happy to answer anything. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. And what I think is really great to see and hear, just even from these introductions, is how connected the community and the city and all of the different health institutions and organizations are in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I saw we've got some people joining us from the Memphis area. I saw Lebanon. I've seen a few people across the state. And so just know that what's really cool is to be right here in the heart of such a medical hub and to have the opportunity to not just get experience at one area hospital, but to kind of bounce around and get all of these different really rich experiences. And so that was very cool to hear y'all kind of connecting the dots between some of the different places that you've been. So I don't see any questions from our attendees just yet. So we want to encourage you to please share things that you're curious about in the Q&A. If you can't find the Q&A feature, you can definitely use the chat. That works too. You should be able to click the 3 little dots either on your phone or your camera and get to those. But a question that I have for the panel to kick things off, and whoever unmutes first can be the first to answer. I'll kind of call and help you guys stay organized, but is what would be 1 or 2 key experiences that you had as a student at the U of M that helped prepare you for the world after college, whether it be your current job or maybe just life after college? Who wants to go first?
I'll kick it off, Paige.
Perfect.
One major and one kind of minor. First minor one, I decided one day that I would go to class in my pajamas. I had never done that before. I think I had an exam. I had been up all night long, and I don't even know if Dean Latham has retired yet, but he saw me and I was mortified. When he saw me in my pink pajama pants, he pulled me to the side and told me to never leave my dorm room in my pajamas again. And that has stuck with me. When it comes to just my professional appearance and how I carry myself. And just because I see other people doing things, that does not mean that that's how I should represent myself and that it should be okay with me. But that's something that has always stuck with me. I got in trouble that time, but it stuck. So thanks, Dean Latham. The second thing, like I said, I took a kind of abnormal route to get to where I am. And when I realized after doing a summer program that going to medical school really wasn't what I wanted to do, I was about to change my major to nursing. I had 1 year left and I was a biology major. I had decided that I was going to change my major. And luckily I had an excellent advisor that was there in the pre-med track, and they helped me to find a different option, which was the DNP program. There was also a master's program at UTHSC at that time. So if you had a degree in anything else, you could go to UTHSC and get your master's in nursing without having to get a second bachelor's degree. So that was something that I was so thankful to my mentor and to my advisors at the U of M for helping me to find, so that I didn't spend time getting a second bachelor's degree or put myself behind on my track. And I was able to still get where I needed to go. So those two things were very helpful. And I don't know that I would be where I was today if it hadn't been for that advisor that helped me to find a track that worked for me.
Thank you. I think both of those stories have a good example of people who work on campus just really being key to your experience. And so Dean Latham has retired, but you saw lots of nods who recognize that name and know that that's somebody who really impacts students and cares about students and will tell them not to wear their pajamas to class, but also laugh while they do it. So I think that's something that definitely showcases what life is like at the U of M. There's a lot of people who care. Anybody else have an example of a key experience that helped prepare them? And it's okay if you're not in the real world just yet, Megan.
Hey, Paige, I would say another key experience was just getting involved, no matter if that was through the Student Leadership and Involvement Office, the Office of Recruitment, or anything. You really got a chance to meet some other people outside of the university. So one example that I remember is I was a emergent leader. And so at an emergent leader event, there was a man from Methodist Le Bonheur and their senior leadership team. I knew I wanted to be in healthcare administration. He was just there doing a keynote. Immediately afterwards, I asked Justin, because I was a little nervous and I think I was a sophomore, said, hey, is it appropriate for me to go and talk to him? And he was like, absolutely, this is what it's there for. Went and talked to him and got to shadow the CEO of Methodist for a couple of times after that. And it really solidified my passion for doing the career that I do now, though I'm not at Methodist. And so that was just an example that you really get connected with people outside of even the university at the university. And it really makes the experience better.
To piggyback on that, so I was also an emerging leader. I imagine it was a little bit different when Jared came through compared to when I went through. But I would say that some of the skills that I learned throughout the 4 years of being on that scholarship, because it is a little bit more intensive. You take certain classes with that scholarship. You do have some of the community experiences. And so for me, things that I didn't anticipate that actually prepared me for was one, interacting with people from all different backgrounds, because you are coming from all across the state and even outside of the state. But then the secondary thing is just the training that I received about like how to be a leader and how to lead groups. At the time, it did not really set with me as far as like how impactful that will be. But then I found myself in different situations where I have been kind of forced into leadership roles and bringing back some of those skills I never thought were, it was fun to learn. And you thought, oh, this is cool. Like I'm learning how to be a leader in my sorority or in my organization. But seeing how those have been very fruitful to me throughout different positions that I have held, both in medical school and now in my job. So that's been very helpful.
Hey, this is Mario. So for me, it was realizing the resources that the university had. So again, I went to the Lambeth campus in Jackson. So even though we had things there, there was a lot of things that were happening at the main campus there in Memphis. And one of those experiences that I had was when I attended one of the Career and Internship Expo, and I actually got to connect with one of the recruiters for the Peace Corps. And so through that connection, through that event that the University of Memphis hosted, I was able to make that connection with that recruiter, and we just continued to have conversation after that. And we just made that strong connection. I then applied for a Peace Corps internship that they had through that connection, and I got that position, and I did that, I think it was either my junior year or my senior year. And through that connection, I continued to stay connected with Peace Corps through that. And then after I worked for 2 years, which was my goal, 2-3 years work before I did Peace Corps, I applied, and that recruiter helped me through that whole process and through my experience and everything that I did while I attended University of Memphis and did all the involvement and the different organizations and community work. I was accepted and I was able to serve abroad, and that was one of the greatest experience that I've ever had, and it continues to push me and move me in towards the public health, kind of global health focus in healthcare. So just realizing the resources that the University of Memphis offers and then taking advantage of those resources, because either A, some people may not know what resources are available or what kind of things are going on, or B, you realize that they're there, but you may not take advantage of them. So definitely be on the lookout for events or different things that are available. And if it even shows a slight interest, I'd say go for it and make those connections.
Yes, definitely all about the connections. Clayton, did you have something to add? I saw you maybe unmute, but if somebody covered it, that's okay.
Well, I was going to make sure there's a question actually just in the chat that wasn't in the Q&A I wanted to hit on before it got lost. There's a question, just how was your freshman year of college going into your major? And I feel like that kind of ties in here with key experiences, because I'm originally from Nashville, so I came to University of Memphis from out of town without really knowing anyone. And so freshman year was a little challenging for me, kind of just getting involved on campus and getting off to a good head start. But Memphis was a really easy place for me to settle in at the end of the day. And I guess in relating to my major, so I started as a chemistry major, I ended as a chemistry major. It was something I loved and something I kept with. Freshman year is kind of a make it or break it when it comes to these heavy science degrees. For example, I have a current roommate who was with me my first year of chemistry, and after the first year went on to do accounting instead. And so he went the complete opposite route. And this is a good question for me to answer right now too, being a first year again at another school. Freshman year is really a good time to experiment with your study habits and kind of just figure out what works for you. I was able to do that pretty well, and it's what pushed me through the rest of my college career. So, I mean, it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy, but once you get settled in to this major, it's either going to carry you through after your first year, or you're going to change paths, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that as well. So I hope that's a good answer to that question.
I think that's a great answer to that question. And I appreciate you being able to say, you know, it wasn't that easy, both sometimes the classes and then sometimes the transition. But once you had something that I would quote, but I can't remember it exactly, but Memphis was an easy place to settle into or something. We should put that on a t-shirt. So that was really great. I'm glad that you shared that. And thank you for catching that question. One that I see that I'm going to direct to Megan, and then maybe Mario, if you want to add, if there's other pieces about the nursing program, just what is the nursing program like? So maybe a little bit about when you apply, what that looks like, and then if you want to give kind of an overview of your classes.
Yes. Okay. So the nursing program has changed even while I've been in nursing school. So I applied to nursing school when I was in high school, and we have a pre-admission program that they're starting to phase out, but they still do offer it, I believe, right now. And so I applied when I was in high school and submitted a personal statement and my ACT score, and that was that. And I was in nursing school, and it's become a more competitive process over the past few years. And now I believe they accept 20 students, where I feel like most of my friends were pre-admitted nursing students when I was entering into the program. And that really, them phasing that out is to students' benefit, because it allows for students who are working hard in college and making good grades in their courses to have a more competitive chance of getting into our program. So we accept 150 students to the nursing program each semester at the Memphis campus. And then I believe, Mario, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 40 students each semester at the Lambeth campus. And so in terms of what the actual program is like, your teachers want you to succeed. So I have taken courses all throughout in different capacities throughout nursing school, and I it was really hard at first. I will not lie. I really didn't struggle my first 2 years of college. And I got into pharmacology and said, oh my goodness, I do not know how to study. And so I really suggest leaning in on study groups and the tutoring that the nursing school offers, because they will not let you fall behind if you're using the resources that are given to you. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to use tutoring whenever I was in my first semester of nursing school. My grades really suffered because of that. And so I highly suggest using the tutoring that we offer. We have a skills lab that's open. That's been a little bit different with COVID, but we have a skills lab where you can just go and practice different skills. Like one of the things that we had to do was, put a catheter in on a mannequin our first semester. And I didn't go and practice that. And I was so mad at myself at the end of the semester for not using those opportunities at the beginning. And so throughout the past few semesters, I've really learned my teachers are here for me. They want me to succeed. I can use them as networking opportunities. And so that's the biggest advice I have, is use all of the opportunities that the nursing school provides, because they have so many. We also have a Student Nurses Association and all different ways of getting involved, even if it's not on the big, large campus spectrum. It's also specific to nursing in a great way to kind of start your involvement opportunities as well.
Hey, this is Mario. 100%. Everything she said. I think if I had to say one word for the nursing program there at Memphis, it's intense. It really is intense. I had no idea what nursing would entail. As a first-generation college student, there was really nobody I could connect to or talk to about their experience in my immediate family. And a lot of things with nursing, prior to entering into nursing, I had a lot of stereotypes that, nursing was just going to be something easy, just something you can go get a degree and you can work, pass out meds. And lo and behold, I learned very early on that that is not what it is. It is so much intense studying and so much intense work. But I mean, they do offer the resources. I utilized the tutoring services, and it was really neat because I utilized the tutoring services while, in the semesters that I was in, and then the following semester, I would tutor for the classes that I took. So it was a really neat relationship where I would be able to see the students that are coming in and being able to offer the service that was being offered to me to help me move forward. So again, I can kind of give you more of the experience at the Lambeth campus, since it is a smaller campus. Really, you know all your professors because it's a smaller community. You're connected to that little area there and your people. And so I had a great experience connecting with my professors. And I mean, I still talk to them as those personal connections and friendships. And through those connections, I mean, I was able to get my position at Le Bonheur. I was then able to get recommendations for Peace Corps, and then I was able to get connections for St. Jude. So really the professors there are there for you to succeed, and they really want to build a relationship with you. So I know sometimes it can be scary to try to connect with a professor, but when I tell you that they're there for you, they really are. And then just take advantage of the resources because it is intense. I mean, I didn't have to study much in high school. And honestly, the first couple of semesters with some of the college classes, I didn't do as much. But once it came into nursing, that was a whole different ball field, just a different way of thinking about how to answer questions, the skill component, because it's not just knowledge that you have in your head, but then how can you apply that in the clinical skill aspect of it? So definitely very intense. But you have the resources and the people that are there to help you. You just, need to be willing to step out and reach out for that help, and then be the help for others. As you're getting help, when you get to a point where you can help others succeed as well, I mean, definitely do that.
Yeah. I just wanted to piggyback off of Mario because I actually had the opportunity to come back and teach in the School of Nursing as an adjunct professor. I forgot to mention that earlier. I don't know how I left that out. But please use your instructors. The instructors there, I was only adjunct, but they're definitely there to help, and they have a passion to help. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. Don't struggle. I see there are a lot of people on here who are interested in nursing. It's an excellent program, but definitely just lean into those relationships because they can be mentors going forward in your career and help guide you and help you with things that you struggle with your studies.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're in the nursing conversation, there's one question I want to address. just specifically about nursing, and then I want to open it up to a couple of other different areas of healthcare. But we're seeing a little bit in the chat about the pre-admitted versus when you apply. And so just know, if you go to our website, memphis.edu, and you search nursing in the top search bar, or just memphis.edu/nursing, you can apply to be pre-admitted to the College of Nursing. But like Megan said, it's a very small number now. So we encourage you to apply, but don't get discouraged if you're not pre-admitted to the College of Nursing. That does not mean that you should just give up and apply somewhere else and not pursue that opportunity. The goal is really to benefit U of M nursing students and give more opportunities for you when you continue or after your sophomore year, during your sophomore year, once you've gotten those prereqs. So you can come in as a pre-nursing major and apply for the College of Nursing in the second semester, typically, of your sophomore year. So that's just a little bit of the logistics. But a good question is, what kind of outside experience does the university provide for nursing students? So maybe your experience in some of the different hospitals or healthcare areas outside of the university.
Hey, just quickly, I know I'm not a nurse, but being a guy that sees a ton of the numbers, hospitals all around, especially right now in the pandemic, has really highlighted the importance of nursing. Megan, I already wrote a note down to come and recruit you. I'm gonna find you on the floors in the next couple of days and get with the CNO to offer you a job. But it's a ton of experiences out there for nursing to come and learn from the different floors, from the emergency department to the cardiac unit to the ICU. So a lot of things for Baptists, and I know not just Baptists, but Regional One Methodist as well, and St. Jude within our community, for nurses to really explore, and that's their time, your time to figure out what discipline you really want to go into within nursing.
Paige, can you repeat that full question, because I don't want to answer it wrong?
Well, I think I sort of weaved a statement into a question, so yes, I probably should. The question is, talk a little bit about your experience, probably clinical experience would be the proper term, within the College of Nursing, in hospitals or whatever the setting may be.
Okay, yes. Okay. I have loved my clinical experiences. The cool thing about Memphis is that there are so many different hospital systems. So you get plugged into basically like 4 or 5 different systems within the city of Memphis just by attending school. So I have had clinicals at Methodist. I've had clinicals at St. Francis. I've gotten connected with different people at, Le Bonheur, at Baptist, at Regional One. And so there have been so many different opportunities for me to learn about how different hospitals work, but also about how different units work. And so I think that the cool thing about clinical is that it lets you kind of put your foot in the water and learn about a different unit, or maybe something that you don't think you're necessarily super interested in, and actually find out if that's the place for you. So for example, I did not expect to want to be a critical care nurse at all. I was not looking forward to that clinical rotation. And that has actually been my favorite rotation that I've had during my clinical experience. And that's like kind of the job area that I'm wanting to pursue now. And so I would say that clinical is what gets you through nursing school because the classes are hard, and what you are wanting to do as a nurse is doing the clinical practice, and it really ties together all the material that you're learning in class. I think that students do better when they're in clinical at the hospital because they see it being done in real life instead of this hypothetical situation. So yeah, clinical is great, and I recommend getting any kind of clinical experience you can, whether that's just in school or also shadowing, getting an internship, really anything that can get your foot into the hospital, because that looks good on paper and also helps you figure out what you want to do. So yeah.
Hey, this is Mario. So again, I attended the Lambeth campus, which is in Jackson, Tennessee. So we weren't necessarily down here in Memphis. And so the hospital system that we worked with a lot was West Tennessee Healthcare, and they have a pretty big system. And so we were able to do a lot of our clinicals. So a lot of your classes will be broken down into different areas. So for example, your adult med-surg, med-surg 1, med-surg 2, things like that. We were able to do there through the hospital system. But for our pediatrics, we actually came to Le Bonheur. And so for some things, we did have to come here to Memphis, which was a great opportunity because, again, you get to see how different systems work. But all of the, a lot of the courses there, they'll have a clinical component to it just so you can kind of see the clinical side of it. And it's just a great experience for you to kind of figure out what you like or what you don't like. Because again, you may think coming in that, oh, you know, you want to work only with kids. And then you go and you do the pediatric clinical and you're like, I do not want to do this. And so it gives you an opportunity to see that. For me, it was the complete opposite. I didn't want to do pediatrics. And when I did pediatrics at Le Bonheur, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I'm having the time of my life and I really enjoyed it. And it was honestly the hardest lecture for me. But it was still what I enjoyed the most. And that's where I ended up in. So for those who are thinking about doing in Jackson, Tennessee, don't think that just because you won't be in Memphis, you won't have the same opportunities, because you'll still have some clinicals in Memphis if you need to for certain things. Like we didn't have a pediatric hospital there in Jackson, so we came over here. And there's always opportunities because the clinical professors there, some of them work or have connections with other systems. So I was able to get an internship, I think they call them externship at Methodist Le Bonheur, with Le Bonheur Children's Hospital through one of my professors, one of my pharmacology professors, because he worked in that unit. And so I was able to get that externship, and I worked at Le Bonheur as an extern. And as I graduated, they just kind of like basically rolled me in. I didn't have to really do all the paperwork or anything again. I was already in the system, and that's where I enjoyed being. And so they just kind of connected me there. So for those who are thinking about doing their nursing at Jackson, at the Lambeth campus, the opportunities are still endless, and you still have those connections through your professors there as well.
Thank you to both of you. And what I would say for our students interested in nursing who are here, we encourage you to apply for both programs. And so Lowenberg College of Nursing is both at the Memphis campus and at the Lambeth campus. They are similar programs and you're taking the same courses. It's just in a physical different location. And so, you know, you can apply for both and put yourself in a better opportunity to get accepted into still getting that University of Memphis nursing degree. So we always recommend once you finish your prerequisites as a pre-nursing major, apply to both programs and see what happens. So we can definitely continue to answer questions through the chat and through the Q&A kind of individually about nursing, but I want to open it up to a little bit of a broader conversation. And so one really good question that I think anyone can answer is, what kind of guidance was provided to you by U of M regarding staying on track to achieve your goal? So preparing for the MCAT, transitioning to graduate school, things like what sort of support did you get in order to get those things done?
I hope I can actually roll a couple questions into one with this. Because someone else also asked, are there any programs for pursuing a career in pharmacy? So just starting off, like I said, I'm in dental school. University of Memphis doesn't have necessarily a like pre-med, pre-dental, pre-pharmacy majors. Really, for example, if you go to UT, HSC, they don't really even necessarily require a science degree to be accepted. So essentially what you would do is just make sure that you like fulfill the prerequisites and what's needed for the individual schools, which are mainly science classes, and you're going to want to take a science major to be able to get into one of these schools. With regard to staying on track, achieving goals, preparing for tests, there should be student-run clubs. I was a part of like the pre-dental club while I was at the University of Memphis. Pharmacy and medical school are in general just bigger and more popular, so there should be bigger and more popular clubs like that on campus as well. Those did a really good job of preparing me throughout my 4 years and keeping on track. When it comes to, and you'll have your advisors with you too. Your advisors have written, I'm sure, a million recommendations for other students as well and know how the process works. When it comes to preparing for tests such as the MCAT, and then I guess too the PCAT, and for me the DAT, that's something you kind of have to stay on top of yourself. Going into a little bit of more background of myself, I'm not a first generation college student, but I'm the first one in my family to ever pursue any sort of medical career. And so I was kind of in the dark once it came to this. But preparing for something like the MCAT or the DAT or the PCAT, that's just a matter of keeping up with your course load throughout the 4 years. Once you take Gen Chem, once you take general biology, don't forget that information, keep up with your resources. I took the DAT the summer before my senior year. So you want to get all those heavy load courses in before your last year of school if you want to be able to get in on your first try. And then the transition process, that's something too that you can get from your advisor, learning about loans and what all needs to be done in between graduating and going to medical school, et cetera, et cetera. Advisors are going to be a big help for a lot of that as well. And like I said earlier, I'm going to drop my student email address at the end of this if you have any other questions about professional or graduate school, or about just like UTHSC as a whole. So I hope that answered quite a few things right there.
Yeah, and I'll let somebody else speak if anybody wants to add on this, but just again, kind of the logistical piece. So if you are sitting here thinking, okay, I'm about to graduate high school and I know I want to be a doctor, now what? You at the University of Memphis and a lot of institutions, you can select whatever major your heart desires. You could be a communications major like me, not me specifically, because I could not have gone to do some of the great things that these people are doing, but you can major in communications, you can major in history. It's probably going to make the most sense if you major in something like biology or health studies, or a program that also is going to require some of these similar sciences that your graduate level study will also require. So just know you pick whatever major, and then when you meet with your advisor, let's say this summer at New Student Orientation, you let them know that you're also wanting to do the pre-med or pre-pharmacy or pre-physical therapy or whatever that may be. Let them know that you're interested in that track. And we have a secondary advisor who will help to make sure you are meeting those other goals. So helping you to gather your rec letters for med school, helping you, not necessarily the one who's going to say, hey, I will give you counseling for your MCAT prep, but connect you to the groups on campus that will, like Clayton mentioned. We also have different fairs throughout the semester. Different schools come in, and like similar to a career fair, we will have healthcare fairs where people come and are meeting with different colleges for medical school and graduate study. So if anybody else has anything they want to add, but just so y'all know, what do you even major in? The sky's the limit. And honestly, depending on who you talk to, the answer may be different. So some people are some people would say you absolutely have to major in biochemistry, and some people would say no, you should definitely major in our biomedical engineering program because they have a really high success rate. But really it's about what you're going to be successful in. So if anyone has any advice or any more feedback about kind of choosing the major in order to get them into their next step.
I recommend that you look at, I chatted with someone, if there is a specific graduate school, like a program that you plan to go on to, especially UTHSC, all of the information about what they're going to require for your application is out there on their websites. So you're going to want to go and look at that information to make sure that you are taking all of the prerequisite classes, especially if you choose to go with a major that's outside of your typical science major. You want to make sure that you're adding in those additional prerequisite classes. When I decided to kind of change my scope, I ended up going to Southwest and taking some courses over the summer that weren't offered by the U of M so that I could have my application in on time. So definitely look at what the qualifications are for whatever school you plan to go to after the University of Memphis, and make sure that you're getting those prereqs in there. And something else I wanted to mention for people who are interested, especially in graduate level medical school, dental school, we don't realize how valuable research experience is. I think we look toward the clinical part of it, and through a small research program that I got a stipend with at the University of Memphis, I was able to present nationally at a conference in New York. And that stuff is really, really looked at as far as your resume. You're able to say that you were published as an undergraduate on paper. So I think we forget about that part of it because we're not looking at getting a PhD, but those things are very valuable when it comes to applying for jobs and applying for internships. So definitely don't miss that piece and that opportunity there, because you can get paid to do it.
Looking around to see if I see any unmutes. That's a very good point about the research. And so one cool thing that people may not think about is that, so the University of Memphis, the majority of our research dollars are going to professors that are doing projects with either graduate level students or undergraduate students. And so we are not specifically affiliated with a medical school, and typically places that have, a medical school or something that would require a lot of research dollars, they're funding that research, and undergrads never get to really have a part in it. But at the University of Memphis, because a lot of our faculty are doing cutting edge research and we aren't funding that money, or we aren't funneling that money elsewhere, that can equate in really cool projects. And maybe you don't know what you want to research. That's okay. You can get involved with a faculty member who's already working on a project. And so you can be published as part of that study, or we have a ton of opportunities. A lot of them are through the Honors College, but there's a lot of other ways. But if you have a specific project that you want to do, faculty can support you as well. So we have a really strong focus on undergraduate research. And so I think that's why it's unique to the University of Memphis. A lot of people have research, but ours, the undergrads, get a lot more opportunity. So let's see. Y'all are asking some really great questions, and there's a lot of them. And so some of them are very specific. So I'm going to try to get to some of the, I guess, a little more broad that might be beneficial for a lot of people to hear. And we'll also continue to type things to answer a lot of these. And thank y'all for all of your participation. One question that I think is interesting is, did any of you, I scrolled away from it, but did you have a different major, or did you have a different plan before you decided to go into your current industry, and kind of how did you make that change? Did everybody know from the get-go? Maybe so.
Hey, this is Mario. Hey, so I knew that I wanted to do nursing. However, once I started going in through nursing school and I had my community nursing course and then the connection with Peace Corps, I knew that eventually, so I didn't necessarily start with something different and move, but I knew that I would start with nursing and eventually move towards public health. And so kind of like through the connections and the courses that I took there, it eventually, again, led me through Peace Corps and doing some global health work there. And then now pursuing, or now that I've been accepted to Emory for the School of Public Health, moving there. So I kind of already had an idea that that's eventually where I would end up. So I knew that I wanted to start with nursing, and I knew that I wanted to work within nursing, but I knew eventually that that would lead me to the public health route. So I kind of had already that in mind. And so I just started to take the steps that would guide me there. So I knew I wanted to work for a couple of years and save some money, pay off some bills. But I already knew that like Peace Corps and then Masters in Public Health would be in the book. So those are things that I just kind of kept saying out loud. And it was interesting enough, when I started at Le Bonheur, I gave my manager a 3-year notice that I said in 3 years, I'm going to be leaving because I'm going to go to the Peace Corps. And so every yearly evaluation, I would reiterate that. And I said, hey, this is my 2-year mark. In 2 years, I still plan to go to do Peace Corps, and then so forth. So I think for me, I started out with nursing, and that's what I'm practicing right now. But I already knew that eventually I would move into public health. So kind of getting everything in order to move me there, from researching the opportunities with Peace Corps, where I would serve, what I would do. And then once I completed my service, researching graduate schools and what graduate school am I going to go into, and then what kind of program am I going to go into, and then what kind of specialty within the program. And so that's kind of what led me to where I'm at now, and getting ready to transition from the clinical role as a registered nurse into a graduate student for public health. So just having those things in mind, whether it is written down or speaking it, to your family or friends, that's something that I just like to do, because when I say it out loud, it makes it more real than just in my mind, oh, this is what I'm going to do. So it wasn't necessarily that I changed in the beginning. I knew I wanted to do nursing, but as I progressed through nursing, I really love the community aspect of it and the community health aspect of it. And then that now using those transitions and those connections that I made with UofM, just to begin that transition from the clinical role as a registered nurse to public health.
Mario, I think that's a perfect example. Thank you. So not necessarily outside of the healthcare realm, but when, we enter, even people like me who don't work in the same space, we see doctor, nurse practitioner, we see 2 or 3 things out there. And then when you start your studies, you find out that there's so many areas that you didn't even know you were passionate about until you took a class or until you even entered the workforce. And so the sky's the limit. There's tons out there in every area. We see doctors, teachers, lawyers, but there's so many different things you can do. And that definitely rings true in the healthcare field. And Jared, I feel like that you probably have some good things to add there.
Yeah, I was about to say in the next 10 years, I'll probably be out of a job because the clinical leaders so far just do such a great job at connecting and tying the hospital together, or not just the hospital, but clinics and other settings. At Baptist, right within the past year, our CEO, Baptist Memphis, was a nurse, longtime nurse, transitioned to the administration side. One of the VPs at Baptist at the corporate level is a pharmacist. So there's so many clinical medical things that you can start off in. And then once you've kind of gotten that groove and you want to help and give back to the people who are entering in, you can move on to the administration side and make that experience better for people. So the options are limitless as it relates to administration and a lot of other things.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, Portia, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's important to try to network with people, even, when it's intimidating as an undergraduate, because that's what led me to decide that I didn't want to go to medical school. I actually did a summer program that UTHSC had that allowed me to kind of be like a day in the life of a medical student and take practice MCATs. And I was like, oh, no, this is not for me. So I think the big turning point for me. So if you have those opportunities to shadow people, to do summer programs, make the most of that time, because otherwise, if you're dead set and you've got your head in the book, which is normal for people in the healthcare field, you won't realize until you're there that maybe this is not what I wanted to do. And at that time, it's fine to change too. But if you get the opportunity to look at a day-to-day basis of what these people do and people in healthcare do, take that opportunity so that you can know, if that's something you'd really be interested in long term.
And just a quick jumping in from that, shadowing is great, but if you're like a lot of us in college need a little extra money, don't be afraid to go and work at a hospital as a transporter or a patient care assistant, to get in there, and that's when you really get to see how these healthcare environments really work, and see how the ecosystem forms. So
I agree, Jared. I mentioned earlier that it took 4 years to get into medical school. I ended up working in a clinic in town. But my last year of undergrad, I was a transporter at St. Francis Hospital. And it's amazing the little pieces of information that you pick up. I mean, just how to interact with patients, and things that, as an undergrad, I never thought I would learn those skills, but those skills have carried throughout because I was learning from other people who had been doing this a while and made a little money. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, I would just echo that.
Yes, very good advice. We are getting towards the end of our time, and I almost didn't realize it because I feel like this has been so great and informative and fun. But one thing that I would like for us to close on, and Hayden just asked a great question that this could also kind of encompass. So is just, what advice would you give? So thinking about, you're talking to people who are about to enter college, thinking about not just that are entering college to go into healthcare, but just they're about to be college students. So what advice would you give about college life, and maybe with a twist on the healthcare and medicine field? Megan, you are the most recent, so you have to go first and everybody else gets to think.
Yay, I'm excited to answer this question. So I think the most important thing that has helped me throughout college has been the connections that I've made on campus. There have been many times that I've wanted to cry and needed someone to be there for me, and Paige and Kyle and all of the amazing faculty and staff that we have at the UofM have been there for me. And then also other student leaders on campus, classmates and things like that. And so the biggest thing that I would recommend as you are starting college is to attend orientation wholeheartedly, get excited for it. You're going to have to attend it anyway, but there's a difference between getting excited for it and attending it. So definitely be excited for orientation. And then also, we actually have a program called the Frosh Camp program, and then we have some different twists on it. If any of you are like a transfer student or from out of town, we also have our flight camp, which is finding leadership in the transfer experience, and then also our Frosh Fusion camp. I was a counselor for Frosh Camp and an orientation guide, and then I also was able to serve as the director of programming and activities for Frosh Camp when COVID hit. So that was definitely a different experience, but still fun. And that is just a way to, make your first, step onto campus and really find your home within the U of M community, because you're learning about university traditions, you're learning about, what makes a tiger and how to have that tiger pride. And I think that is the biggest way to get connected to your university and excited for school. So that's the biggest recommendation I have in terms of, getting connected to the campus. In terms of getting ready for school life, I was a part of the honors program, and that was really awesome. So if you're able to do that, I have really enjoyed, taking those different classes and having extra projects that I can include on my resume within my nursing courses as well. And then also I was in I forget what they are called, Paige, and that's so bad, but it is basically a way that you can be in kind of a cohort for your classes. What are those called?
Learning
the learning communities. Yes.
Yeah,
so I was in a tiger learning community. Some of them are living learning communities where you can live in a cohort as well. But I was in a tiger learning community, and it was nursing focused. So I had this group of people that I'm still in nursing classes with them today and still talk to them today. And so that was definitely a stepping stone. That was before nursing school, but kind of got me prepared for, that group mentality of getting through these classes and, tackling nursing school all together. So those are just some little small recommendations. I'll let other people talk now.
I can hop in next. I can twist this and actually talk about what I did wrong while I was in undergrad. I did a good job of making connections and getting involved on campus, but I didn't do a good job in the areas necessarily that I got involved. And that kind of hurt me once I hit my senior year, once I was applying for dental school. I was very stubborn and kind of thought I could get through it on my own, and never really reached out to many professors or got much help in the way of applying. And I think that hurt me on my first application cycle. Undergrad is going to be really hard. It's not, but even your freshman year, it's never too early to get ahead. If you have a professor that you really enjoy their class, especially in the science field, go ahead and get to know them, go to their office hours, have a recognizable face for them, so that when it comes around to getting recommendations and help in the application process, they can write you strong letters. It's a competitive world, and it's only going to get more competitive every single year. So anything that you can do to make yourself stand out, do that. And that's the best advice that I have.
I would agree. And it's been a while since I applied to medical school. And so I spend time on the committees that actually are admitting medical students these days. And the students that are coming in are pretty impressive. And so to echo Clayton, I do think it is a competitive process. You do want to do things that make you stand out. But the other thing that I would say is that there were some choices that I made in undergrad that maybe somebody in medical school wouldn't have necessarily thought were the wisest. So I chose to get really involved in a lot of different things on campus because I wanted to fully experience college. And so I was in a lot of activities. I did a lot of leadership activities. And because of that, I may have not had the tip-top grades. And I do think that to some degree that probably impacted whether, my delayed application or my delayed acceptance to medical school. That said, I wouldn't do it differently ever again. I feel very strongly that my grades were strong enough, but they weren't probably the top of the class. But I have some memories and things that I encountered and still friendships that I made at the University of Memphis that I would have not otherwise had if I hadn't gotten involved. And so to kind of echo Megan, jump in wholeheartedly to college and have your experience. but keep in mind that you do need to have your competitive grades as well. And so finding that balance for you, I think, is important. And then I would also just say that as far as connections, so I am a first-gen college student and first-gen medical student for my, or doctor for my family. And so I didn't know what I was doing either. And so I would always look a year or two ahead of my current year. And so I had sophomores ahead of me, juniors ahead of me, seniors ahead of me in college. And then even as I expanded and became closer to graduation, these people were already in medical school, or they were already doing some of the things that I was looking for in the future. And so I use them as resources, because in addition to your advisors, having friends who are in the same boat or have done it recently, they're going to be your best advocates and able to give you really good advice.
Hey, this is Mario. I think for me, I would probably say like get informed and push forward. And so I go a lot back to my experience with the Career and Internship Expo. But again, I would not have known that if I had researched or if somebody had not mentioned it. So there's going to be a lot of events. Sometimes it's going to feel overwhelming, but look at those events that can really lead you to the trajectory, to the career trajectory that you're interested in. And so a Career and Internship Expo, in it by itself, it's such a great opportunity, but then as well push forward. And so I was driving from Jackson, Tennessee up here to Memphis, and it was raining. And I didn't do my research well enough. And I had like, I don't know if I had jeans or khakis or whatever, but the event, like you had to be dressed up. And so they didn't allow me to go into the event at that moment, but I had talked to the recruiter and she was going to have a presentation in another classroom later that day. So what I did is I stood around and waited until she was going to present somewhere else. And then I went forward and talked to her, met her, and made that connection. So one, get informed, look at the events and look at the resources that are available, and utilize those that are going to take you to the trajectory that you want, and push forward. If people say no, you find a way to get a yes. And even if you're not allowed to that event, figure out how you can make that connection with that person. And I mean, it's going to be a lot of self-motivation. You're going to have to pick yourself up and find those opportunities. And even when that opportunity may not present itself right there, because for me, it wasn't that I wasn't dressed formal enough for it, but I waited my moment and I went and I took that opportunity and I was able to make that connection and have the experience with Peace Corps that, you know, now fuels my passion into global health. And that's what I'm going to be moving forward with now with a master's degree.
Jared, I've seen you try to go a couple of times. Did somebody take yours?
Listen, they have much better answers than mine. All I was going to say is go to the football games, go to the basketball games. You really do enjoy the university even more if you build in that tradition. Some of those fun things, Frosh Camp, can't stress those enough, but make sure that those things are supplemental to your actual academic pursuits. That's it.
Absolutely. Well, thank y'all so much for being, oh, Portia.
I was like, was I the last one? Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I think what several people have said about finding the balance, it's tough. And I think I was like a recluse my freshman year because I was terrified. And my GPA was like 3.99 something. And my sophomore year, I got to know people and it went down to like a 3.1, but it was okay. It recovered and I was fine. You have to find a balance between having fun, which that's what you're supposed to do because it's college, getting active, which definitely is great for your resume and great for recommendation letters, but also getting your studies done. So find your tribe, find your people that are on the same wavelength as you are, and you guys can, you know, lean on one another when you have tough times, when you're struggling, because the struggle is real, it's college. Find your people that you can lean on, have fun, and just enjoy your journey. University of Memphis is great. It's where I met my husband. I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So just enjoy the journey and give it all you got.
Well, I just want to talk to y'all all night. And so we really, really appreciate you. And thank you to all of you who are here for asking such great questions. I'm sorry if there were any that we weren't able to get to this evening, but we covered a lot of information. And thank you all who are sharing your contact info if people want to reach out. Also, remember our office is recruitment@memphis.edu. I'll drop my email in the chat as well if y'all have further questions or want to make sure you get connected. But as you can see, it's a great place to get started in the medical world, whatever that may be. And so there's a ton of opportunity to have a really rich experience. And so we hope to see you all again in the future. I'm going to turn it over to Kyle to kind of wrap us up with some next steps and some additional information. But our panelists, again, thank you. We appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paige. And thank you again to our panelists. I must say that these folks are some of the best in the business. Dr. McCoy, who is a pediatric doctor, still takes all of my text messages and answers them when I have just the slightest cough. And Megan, one of our current students, also does that as well. So we definitely appreciate them and all that they do, especially during these times. On the screen now, you'll see some contact information for our College of Arts and Sciences, our College of Health Studies, and then our Lowenberg College of Nursing, as well as the contacts for those specific areas. And so if you have questions beyond some of the things that we talked about tonight and want to get in contact with some of the specific college reps, these are the folks who you'll need to contact for those things. I also wanted to make note, we had a couple of questions in the chat regarding like pre-pharmacy, pre-veterinary medicine, pre-med. Cody Clinton in the College of Arts and Sciences will be the contact for that if you have questions specific to those areas. A couple of things regarding next steps in the admissions process. Hopefully all of you who are planning to attend this upcoming fall have applied for admission. If you haven't at this point, you can still do so just by visiting apply.memphis.edu. That is where you'll fill out your admissions application, and then we'll be back in touch with you, hopefully within a couple of days on your admissions decision. And the same goes with scholarships. There are plenty of scholarships available for you. And so we encourage you to go ahead and submit your admissions application so that you can take advantage of those scholarships as well. The next thing is the FAFSA application. That has been open since October the 1st. And we cannot stress enough how important it is to fill out that application. Once you do that, we'll get your information in and you should be receiving a financial aid package from our financial aid department soon after. For those of you who are planning to live on campus, the portal actually opened today for students to go ahead and register for housing. And so we encourage you to do that sooner rather than later so that you can take advantage of the dorm of your choice. We have a variety of dorm options on campus, but of course, the sooner you do it, the sooner you are able to get the one that you would like. And then the last two things, we encourage you all to visit campus as well. We know that this year has been far from normal, but we would love to have you on campus for a socially distant campus visit. And to reserve your reservation, you'll just visit memphis.edu/visit. And then finally, orientation. Megan brought this up a little bit earlier. New Student Orientation is our program that takes place in the summer months, usually May through August. And you'll come back for a day-and-a-half program where you'll meet other future Tigers. You'll meet with your academic advisor, get your classes squared away, get your student ID, things like that. It is a fun experience, and we certainly hope to see you there this summer. And registration for that opens in early March. And I believe that's it. Again, thank y'all for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to learn a little bit more about some of the opportunities that are available to you in the health and medicine areas. Again, if you have questions of us or need anything from our department, please feel free to reach out. Thanks again.